Hey everyone, welcome in. Betsperts Golf here for 3 tournaments this week. I apologize, my audio was terrible, or my video looks awful because no one really looks good from this angle. But this thing let me down today. It is definitely one of the original microphones in the space. If you listen to podcasts, probably no one's podding with an older mic, but it's never failed me until really today. I can hear Andy, but Andy can't hear me through the mic. So you have to look at my, jowls from upside down here, and hopefully the audio is okay for you. But Andy, 3 tournaments: Scotland, Kentucky, artist formerly known as the Barbasol, and then your specialty, Live Golf, is in Valderrama. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah, just different kinds of dark liquor. You've got your Kentucky bourbon, and you got your peat flavored Scottish single malt. So yeah, it's a good week. Not only that, like you said, we have to Live. It's a little more conducive to the research process for Live, with some of these events where it's like, hey, here's an event in a tournament in a course that we've never played before. And go figure it out. Have fun, because there's literally no information. I think I said that last time. It was Nashville, where I opened literally near almost 20 different preview articles, anything I could find. I went to page 2 of the Google results. You don't want to be there. That's not somewhere you want to be. And it was crazy how no one had any information. They all just quoted the Live website, and because there was this exact same quote about the difference between Pinehurst and Nashville. Like, this will seem like a walk in the park. Like, they didn't even change it. They all just used the exact same quote, copy and paste it, good enough, stamp it, send it to the editor, we're good to go. But this week, it is an event we've had a couple times, the same place in Valderrama, so we know a little bit about that course. Maybe get into that a little later, but that tournament starts later, so I'll probably have the preview up on site for that tomorrow over at Betsperts Golf. That'll be a free article, because we're not putting Live behind a paywall. The JDC'd. I mean, congrats, community win for Davis. Everybody seemed to have him on his card. If you bet him at 20 or 22, open some more books, guys. I've seen some people with some pretty bad numbers. Make sure you have 3 or 4 different outs at a minimum, because there were 30s out there. For sure. 25s at the worst, but I mean, a win's a win. Congrats on that. Anyone who had any success at the JDC, kind of more of the same at the Barbasol, but the premier one is definitely the Scottish. Rory finally back from his sabbatical. A really good event, really good field. Not everyone's there though. Scotty is not. I think there are a few guys in the top 20, 25 who are preparing for the Open differently, not by playing the Scottish Open. It's not pure links either. It's links-ish. Ron has another word describing it. I say part links, part parkland, because there's tree-lined corridors and some of the inland, the inner holes there. But he had heathland. I don't know where he found that word. He had it described as 3 different ways. I don't know. I think 5th or 6th straight year we've played it here at the Renaissance. So you get a sense for this course, and anyone who's looked at course history and who's won this has seen some very different scores. And that's the biggest narrative, is if it's windy, it's hard, and someone's going to be 8 under. If it's not all that hard, and you can basically double plus how low you can go when the wind is not going to kick up there in Scotland.
Yeah, that's a great point. The wind is kind of the great equalizer here, I guess you could say. I looked early, and again, we know weather can change 24 hours out, 10 hours out. But I was looking on Sunday night, and it didn't look like we were going to have much in terms of wind comparatively, so it might be a little bit easier. I believe it's a little softer. They've taken on some rain, so I'm interested to see how it plays, because there's not a lot, and that's typical in link style courses, or even in the Open Championship, when you have they're built essentially to have wind be a common factor all the time. So you're going to have really slow greens. Part of that is because you can't really have rock hard fast greens when wind is going to be gusting up to 30 miles an hour too. So we've seen some rounds here in the past where greens and reg is 80% because just the wind is down and there's no real rough penalty off the tee. We've seen that in an increased driver usage here too, because there's just nothing preventing these guys from just getting down there and having a lofted wedge to be able to hold the green. So yeah, it's I don't know. It can play pretty easy. Heathland is something I've heard before. I don't really know what it means, but there's, I guess, there's a links-ish element to things here because.
Must have got a phone call. Noonan was joining on his phone, so his wife probably called or something. We've had this in the past. Sorry for the tech difficulties. I'll try to soldier on. I thought it was me because I had just opened up another tab to search for Heathland, and it brought up Heath. Who texted you?
No, I thought you texted me, so I was making sure my audio was okay. But
oh no,
yeah,
Heath is a shrubland habitat found mainly in free-draining, infertile, acidic soils and characterized by open, low-growing, woody vegetation. Sounds like a metaphorically. So, meadowy. There's some woodsy areas. I don't want to say like this course doesn't have an identity, but it's kind of a combo course.
Yeah.
But there's some elements to links golf definitely here, especially on some of the holes. So not the worst way to prep for Troon. And also, just getting used to the agronomy. I think the biggest thing too is just we have a grass. I hate to say we don't see fescue because we do, but the fescue is usually mixed in the rough. Like, hey, we have some fescue mixed in the rough because it's it's an easy grass to grow for that. But this is fescue everywhere. This is slow. Anyway, has anyone ever seen you've seen the stimp readings? Like we talk about it all the time. Stimp, Piner's going to be 13 plus. Stimp here is what, if you go play your local muni, 9, 10, unless it's dried out shit, like they don't want to make it too hard for guys like you. I don't know if anyone's ever seen a stimp meter or seen a stimp meter reading. It's funny. It sounds like this complicated, technical jargon that they have. It is a fucking stick with a V channel, whatever groove. It is a long stick, and there's a spot you put the ball on, and then you tilt it at an angle, and you see how far the ball rolls. You measure it. I think you do it a handful of times, and then you go to where those balls ended up, and then you do it the same way backwards. And then you take all those measurements, add up the averages, and divide it in half. And it's like, for like a stimp of 11, on average, those balls would have gone 11 feet. So, I mean, just knowing that, that this is going to run at like 10, there is a decent sized difference. It's like a, 15, 20% difference between some of these faster greens. So there's a little bit of adjustment. Hopefully a lot of these guys have gotten over there and at a minimum just started putting on these, because that's the biggest thing here is the greens are kind of massive, 7,000 square feet plus. And if it is windy and you're having trouble with your proximity, I think that's the biggest thing for the weekend golfer is, finding those lag putts. Like it looks easy on TV. Like, oh man, that's an easy 2-putt. And he just hit it 75 feet to 3 inches. But it's got to be some sort of culture shock when you get over there and suddenly like the ball is moving 20% slower. And you're used to your warm up, you have your pendulum, you have your speed, how far back to bring the mallet when you're hitting it that far. You hit it and it lands 8 feet short, on something you thought might go well past the hole. So I'm interested to see. That's something every year when they get over here, some of the putting woes, especially like we said, greens are huge. You might hit the green, but you might be 90 feet away. You're going to have to hit some lag putts here. And depending on how the scoring is with the weather, you're going to have to find some, if it is truly going to be less windy than normal and the scoring should be low, you're going to have to probably make some longer putts as well.
Yeah, you made some good points in there for sure. And we have some of that in the rabbit hole too. We look at like approach putting, which is, putting when you're 25 plus feet away. 3-putt avoidance, 3-putt is a little bit higher here than average, to your point, because of the large fairways or the large greens. So, looking at proximity when greens and reg is a little bit easier, because that could be the case if the wind is down. It's again something you can use the rabbit hole for, which is really cool. The linksy part I do think is that there's intentionality around leaving the front of the greens open in terms of like no bunkering, really no like hazards where you can run it up there a little bit if the wind is a problem and you want to play more link style golf. If you're in the rough and you can hack it and run it up there a little bit, that's kind of a unique link style prep that I think that these guys are going to have that maybe Valderrama is not going to give the live guys in terms of prep. It's in a unique layout as well because there's the extra par 3, 5 par 3s, and just 3 par 5s because we're playing at a par 70 track too. So yeah, I mean, you've seen iterations of this because this is year 3 of the co-sanctioned event, right? We're going to have 75 PGA Tour guys, 75 of the DP World Tour guys. This was a DP World Tour event in the past, and that's when some other Minwoo Lee won, Aaron Rai won. You've seen some of the, we've seen scoring get into like the 20s, the upper teens. And as you referenced, we had, Xander win a couple years ago in the first year of it being the co-sanctioned event at 7 under, right? So the variance between what happens from a win standpoint is huge. So I think from like a live betting in tournament situation, like there's some opportunities here. Round scores, our friends over at Underdog who offer fairways hit and greens and reg hit. Like I can't imagine they're making sweeping adjustments based off of the weather forecast. I imagine that their algorithm is tied to some historical data at the course, and then maybe what's happening earlier in the event. So there might be some opportunities here this week where we can get some low-hanging fruit based off of the weather forecast compared to maybe some other events, because I think there's just wider swings of what can happen here. So, and we just haven't really seen a lot of the DP World Tour guys, even though they would have the experience, as you said, on like these slower greens. We haven't really seen them come here and run away. And part of that is like most of the better DP World Tour guys we see fairly frequently on the PGA Tour. So like the, Tom McKibbins and Ewan Ferguson, like those guys are kind of the top tier of the DP World Tour player pool. But like there's like this 150 man field, but you can comfortably cross off like 40, 45 guys here.
Yeah, the field, it's top heavy, but yeah, you also have that because I don't want to talk shit about the DP Tour because there's a lot of good players and there's a lot of, but like when you get to a certain point on the European Tour, like you just start playing less. It's funny. It's not like a developmental tour. It's like a half step below where, Christ, why would I continue to play like the Polish Masters if I can go get into a signature event on the PGA Tour, things like that. I know those two don't line up. I should have found that. I should have actually found two that line up because I think I have like the schedules lined up for me on one of my spreadsheets here. But it's a good point. There are some guys towards the bottom of that just aren't going to beat a field like this at a course like this. I don't know. Let's just other course notes. Par 70. Power kind of helps. The rough isn't super penal, and a lot of the the penalty areas, the hazards, they're not really going to get you off the drive. It's hard to get in trouble with your driver, I guess. That's what I'm saying here. Like we've seen it be a mix of this and that, and power is definitely going to help, but that's another thing that's hard to model. Like, hey, it's windy. Like we can look at apex height, but apex height is going to tell you a story about the player's like normal, 99% swing. Like it's hard to find a model of like who's got a really good stinger and like who can flight their ball in this wind. So I don't think we're going to be dealing with that as much, but that is kind of the main defense outside of just ending up in a really bad spot in one of these deeper bunkers, which can happen. So around the green play is definitely going to help. You got a lag putt. The greens are slow. Feskew's slow. It's going to be like a 10. That's pretty much all I have. It is going to be hit the piss out of the ball and putt well. And it's weird to say it isn't a second shot course as much because it is. But, I mean, your second shots are going to be just that much better if you do have a little bit of driver distance. I'm upweighting distance a little more, I think, than some people are. I know that maybe maybe we should be looking at comp courses, but some of those samples are so small. Some of those just the data isn't as good from the TP. So, driving distance, putting, and then approach, which is not the order I like to put it in. But it's not just going to be, putting. It's going to be 3-putt avoidance. It's going to be, maybe some sort of proximity stats, maybe just a short game overall, guys who can, manage their way around these big greens. It's I think it's a tough one to model for sure. I have yours, not screen sharing. I just pulled a screenshot here. So looks like you did some anchoring, then tee to green, off the tee, driving distance, proximity approach. I can look a little deeper here.
I try to
used a bunch of smaller metrics. It looks like.
Yeah, so I went just kind of anchor stats, obviously who's played well in 2024, and I shared this in more detail on the Monday first look show. And looking at just short-term form, tee to green, some of the other stuff too. Yeah, driving distance I think matters a ton. I looked at because I think you make good points around what's the priority this week. There's not a course anywhere that's not a second shot course to a degree, right? Like everything matters. So I did, short-term approach and longer-term approach as well. But then the proximity one, I looked at easy and average greens in regulation because, again, if we have no wind or we have minimal wind, guys are going to be hitting greens and reg at a crazy clip. Like Ron noted in his preview, there were 77 players that made the cut in 2021, and only 13 of those had a green and reg percent below 70. So guys are hitting greens and reg at a crazy rate. 15 guys had a greens and reg rate above 80%. So what's your proximity like in situations when greens and reg is not hard, right? So I kind of filtered out the hard part by just going, easy. And there you go, the glove.
The glove. I played him in some one and done last week. He had a good week, but it wasn't, obviously good enough with the scoring we saw last week in the Quad Cities. Brian Harmon's interesting. That one makes sense, though. That checks out. Defender. I'm not sure I could bet on Gary Woodland with anyone's money. Does Aiden note is somebody I've heard mentioned. Hovland has been a hot name. Obviously, the ARG bringing him down a little. But I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't weigh around the green much, right? Because you think if we're hitting greens and reg at a high rate, I put in around the green just in general, last 50 rounds. And then I also did around the green on short grass because that's what we have here. You have a lot of shaved runoffs. And, obviously if you run up short, you're basically in the fairway still. So around the green would be short. So I split it up. Basically it's 5% of the entire model because you basically can't have a model where you're looking at greens and reg being easy and then you're weighing a bunch of around the green stuff. So this is a model that I think is relevant to a benign forecast, basically. I think this would change in windy forecasts. So, and we have wind in the rabbit hole. It's gusts. It's not sustained wind. It's gusts up to, I think, 19 plus is what we consider windy. I did look at that as well. I didn't add it to the model, but I brought that up on the Monday show too, just to see. And again, the wind data it's cool to have. It's just, I gotta believe that it's real noisy in terms of when that's being grabbed and how it plays in terms of, especially gusts, like when that golfer is actually out on the course versus, he played that day and gusts reached that level. So I don't want to give that too much credence, but I think looking at it as tiebreakers is helpful. Guys that can have lower apex flight, I think in combination with that could work too. But for the most part, you're not seeing any surprising names in terms of the model top 10 and just a lot of good ball strikers, good recent form. Connors, Hoagie, anytime those guys are popping in the model, it's going to be, good approach, good tee to green play.
Yeah. And again, if you're a podcast listener, I'll just read off Noonan's top 10 for his Ren Club model, which is what you called it because you can't spell. Have you ever heard how they say it in England? I had to look this up after I watched. I don't even know if I can do it. I watched a show on Netflix called I don't remember what it was called, but it was this presenter, and it's not her real name, Philomena Kunk. And I liked the show a lot. It cracked me up. She's very funny, but the way they say Renaissance, I had to stop it and Google it. So Ren Club, Rory, number 1, Ludwig Olberg, number 2, Xander, winner here, maybe all three have been winners here by the time we're through this weekend. Aaron Rye, very popular, very good through, I don't know.
Also a winner here.
Yeah, 60 some holes. Very good recently. Not a finisher, but very good player. Very good current form. Morikawa, a winner on this side of the pond. Keith Mitchell, who is bringing his visor to Europe. Tom Hoagie, like you mentioned. Corey Connors, number 8. Davis Thompson, current form, probably pulling him up quite a bit. And then another winner over here of the Open Championship, Brian Harmon. 11 is Victor's. We talked about betting on 12. Andy Novak. 13 Siwoo. Sahith. Justin Thomas, who can probably unpack his suitcase for the Ryder Cup if he was thinking about heading to New York next year. Tommy Fleetwood, Doug Gim, Lucas Glover, we talked about, and Kevin Yu, your top 20 there. You. I don't know, maybe we take a look at who else we got. Andy Lack's got like 3 of them already. Oh, he's got his deer run up here still. We can look at Andy Lack's second run. Just curious what he weighed.
Yeah.
I haven't made mine yet. I haven't made anything. It's been busy with football kind of starts this week. His is not too dissimilar at the top. Looks like he took driving distance, some off the tee on low to average missed fairway penalties. That would make sense. He looked at approach, just straight approach last 6 months. Some fairway. Oops, I hit download. I guess I have Andy's on my computer now. I actually hit the download tab. He uses a lot more than I do. 3-putt avoidance, some putting stuff. He used putting on slow greens. That one definitely checks out. Total on links courses. SG total on moderate to windy courses. Scrambling percentage, moderate and windy. And then total strokes gained here at the Renaissance Club. Just course history here. So, and his top 10 is not, like I said, too dissimilar. Xander, Rory, Hoagie, Homa, different. You don't have Homa in there.
Nope.
Morikawa, Hovland, Tommy Fleetwood. Ludwig is 8th for him. Benyon and Bazudenhout. Number 10, Noren, worth mentioning, 11th. Like I said, I haven't made mine yet. I will here fairly soon, probably this afternoon when I get some time. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have any bets? I've bet one guy because the number was big and that was it. And he hasn't been mentioned in any of these yet at Dietrich, just because, I mean, it was 80, 90, 100. It's a bit of a big number. I might have a pretty Eurocentric card, I think, once I end up here.
Yeah, Aaron Rye and Thomas Dietrich.
All 3 tournaments.
Dietrich and Rye should be live guys because they seem to have 54 holes locked down this year. It's that last stretch of holes that seems to be a problem for those guys because they've both been in the mix a handful of times and just can't really seal the deal. I think Dietrich and Farmers, the Masters, obviously played pretty well. He's had a couple other spots where he's been, dancing near the top, but I could see that. I could see that here. I took 2 shots at the top, 2 guys that were top 5 in my model. I went with Ludwig. There's really nothing. You look at the model, there's really nothing that's problematic in the model for Ludwig. The only thing that's bad is his around the green play. But actually, when you look at his around the green short grass, he's like 11th in the model. And that's really what we have here. So, like, he seems to be better at that stuff. That checks out a little bit. That was, the Masters short runoffs in terms of around the green play. He obviously was in the mix there. Same thing with Pinehurst. Around the green, kind of let him down there at the end of the day. But, look, the driver is a weapon. Putter's been really good. Approach has been super consistent. The around the green or the overall proximity number checked out really well for him. So that was available at 18. I like that number quite a bit. And the stuff I was looking at Sunday night beforehand, I felt like Morikawa was the play for me this week. Happy to get a 16 on Morikawa. He's been playing really good golf. I mean, obviously neither of these guys have won this year, but they've both been in the mix quite often. Really, if you look at what's happened for Morikawa since the Masters, 8 starts, that eliminates the Zurich. 9 starts with the Zurich, but 8 starts, 5 of those inside the top 5, no worse than T16, since Augusta. And then you would think about other spots where, because, the only ding on him is distance, right? But I would have thought distance would matter at Augusta. I would have had distance mattering a lot at Valhalla. I would have had distance mattering a lot at the Memorial. And he finished inside the T4 for all those spots. So even in spots where distance mattered, Morikawa's been in the mix. The putter's been better, around the green's been better. And then, what he can do with the irons in his hand. So like it, 16 is the number that I got. And that's it. 2 shots near the top of the board. Makes for a lighter card. I thought Benny Ann would have been a nice play. Number was a little shorter than I wanted. Maybe that's a finishing position bet. But, in the 2 years that we've seen it as a prep for the Open co-sanctioned events, we've seen Rory and Xander win. So I feel like this is a spot maybe where big dogs come and eat.
That's where kind of my last one before we'll pivot here a little too, because we do have some other events to talk about. I kind of want to get them all in. Where did you land on Clark?
Yeah, the form's not been great, but yeah, I bet Clark here last year.
I was gonna say, so that's my weighing thing. Form's not great, but if you look, we've seen some slight improvements back to where he should be, and just like the fit. Hey, do you want a guy who can lag putt to like 3 inches from the tee box somehow? Every single time somehow? Like if you watched him at LACC, just like, that he's kind of in trouble around okay. There's a really easy up and down for him again from just basically anywhere where he can see the pin. And he hits the ball pretty far. So I think form is kind of depressing the number. Maybe it's a combo where I don't have each way because I don't have 365 or any of the European books for the most part. But maybe it's a kind of a combo bet where I let the form dictate the fact that I should probably bet a top 10, the top 20 as well. But I'll probably have a price on him.
I bet him here last year. What did he do? Did he miss the cut? I don't remember this going very well for me last year. I remember Justin Rose was a big play for me last year. Justin Rose missed the cut. Loved his form. He just like T4'd in Europe, like the BMW or something like that. No, Wyndham Clark T25 here last year. So it's not too bad. What did he do? Putter let him down though. So maybe there's something to that. So
just a little more experience, a little more time on these slow greens. He'll be fine.
I don't hate it. I think it's a really good DFS play. DFS, no one's going to want to click that. He's not been informed. So, yeah, I don't hate that at all.
Yeah, I'll have to check out his ownership. Maybe play some DFS this week too. But, yeah, Clark, I'm seeing 57 on 57 on Bookmaker. Dietrich was 75 on Bookmaker when I went to bed. He's down to 68. I was able to find an 80. I saw people that had hundreds. Good for them. Happy for them. Good job, guys. Quick sponsor before we pivot over to Kentucky. Pick 6 from DraftKings. Did you ever play the over-under game with your friends? Think I can eat a slice of pizza in under 30 seconds? I can. I was thinking about that. Now I can just think about the Joey Chestnut eating the 200. I don't know if anyone offered odds on that. Should smash that over. So if you have, then you're going to love the Pick 6, the new fantasy game from DraftKings. Here's how to play during the golf season. We'll have some plays. I'll tweet something out from the house account today. You pick between 2 and 6 golfers and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat. One that they have offered in the past is how many holes they play, which is just a really sneaky way to make a cut, to make the cut entry. I think that's the one I like the most, especially on weeks we actually have the cut like this one. So you can track your picks and play against others for a shot to win huge cash prizes. That's all there is to it. Download the app, the new DraftKings Pick 6 apps, and use the code BSG, Betsperts Golf. New customers play $5 and get 50 in site credits. That's play 5, get 50. Pretty easy promotion. It's code BSG for new customers. Play $5, get 50 in Pick 6 credits only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. The link is in the description of the show notes and the YouTube video here. So pivoting to I'm going to call it the Barbasol. I don't care. The Isco, the former Barbasol. Kind of some fewer notes on that, but it's Keen Trace in Nicholasville, Kentucky. medium length par 72. I think, what do we have? 7,300 yards, a little bit of water, bluegrass with fescue rough, slightly above average greens. They're about 6,000. Stimp is going to play 10 and a half, 11. Still the slower end, but faster than what we're going to have across the pond. A little bit of water, like I said, wide ass fairways, bent grass green surfaces. Basically, every tournament we have in Kentucky is going to be like this. Last year's winner was 22 under, which is only one better than the winner at Valhalla, who was 21 under. So, will we? That'll be funny if the ISCO winner and the Valhalla winner are both 21 under. We've seen even lower scores here. I think the Herminator was like 26, 27 when he won. I feel like that's about as low as we've gone, but it is an easier one. It's not a true bomber's course. Finding the fairway is probably better, but finding the fairway is fairly easy. Like we said, it's pretty wide. Like, find the greens, scramble well around the green is sort of important here. Set up birdie chances, go low. Scrambling, greens and regulation. Greens and regulation's predictive everywhere, always, no matter what. But it's been fairly predictive here. And it's going to be hot. Similar to what we saw in Detroit when you guys were blessed with Ron giving us constant updates because he was there. It's been rainy. It's going to rain more. The Pro-Am might not happen. There's bad weather in the forecast leading up to the tournament. So we got a birdie fest with wide fairways, pure bent grass greens, and it's going to rain leading into it. So we can see, man, it's a 72, so we probably don't see another 59. 59 is so hard at a par 72. But there has been a 60 here. I know that. I read that earlier today. So we're going to see some low scores. If it's ball in hand on Thursday, man, there's going to be first round leaders, 9, 10. There could be some pretty nasty scores here for sure.
Yeah.
And it's humid. We talk about this as a medium distance course. Guess what? Humidity makes the ball fly faster because hydrogen is the lightest atom on the periodic table, and water, that's what the H stands for. So there's a lot of water vapor in the air. It is actually lighter than, the nitrogen and oxygen that you normally have in the air. It's kind of counterintuitive, but water vapor in the air makes the ball fly faster and further. Gives it less drag, more lift. So hot, humid conditions, the ball is going to fly farther. The greens look pretty easy. A lot of scoring. Kind of pick your birdie fest winners. If you had something that worked for you, whether it's DFS, betting, however you decide to do things at the Travelers, if there's something that worked for you at Detroit, the John Deere, you can take that and go with it. That's what we love on the rabbit hole. If you have like a model for birdie fests, you can just pull it up and it'll have this field. We have both fields on the rabbit hole. You can, right on the top left there, you can switch it to this field. If you don't really pay attention to golf, or maybe you just haven't been for the last month or so because summer, maybe you took some family vacations and you're maybe slightly more casual, you might miss some of these names at the top. Luke Clanton is plus 885 right now at Bookmaker. He is not even a professional golfer, guys. He's still an amateur, right? He's not declaring. He hasn't yet.
No. Yeah, he's punted on almost $1 million the last 2 weeks. I think they had said on the broadcast that it's the first time we've had an amateur go back-to-back top 10s since 1958, which even precedes me. So it's been a long time since that's happened. But yeah, it's just wild to see, 10, 11 domestics and then 885 at Chris, which is just insane. But yeah, here we are.
Yeah, Michael Thorbjornsen is your second favorite. Somebody who's not had that many starts as well. He made his debut not too long ago. Carson Young, Michael Kim, Twitter darling, missed the cut last week as a former champion too. So hopefully he has a bounce back this week. Danny Berger, still don't know what to make him. And then a guy I've looked at, Mac Meisner. I don't know if have you made any bets in this one?
No, I thought you were going with Rico.
I
Hoey is
looked at, so I looked at Rico Hoey. He's like 38.50 now. Like it was maybe more palatable at 50-1 where he started at. I am looking at Rico Hoey. I think he probably plays pretty well here. But there's a bunch of guys like that. Like, hey, this is a Joel Dahman could probably play pretty well here. Toasty with this big drive. Like he's 51.50 Van Halen album. There's some guys further down the board. Trace Crow, 108. Parker Cootie's 115. Like there's a bunch of names that could absolutely win a birdie fest. Hayden Springer. Hayden Springer's recently had some decent golf. But yeah, Meisner's like 30, 33. His approach game is looking real good last week. Didn't putt too poorly either. Top 20'd. He has a decent result earlier in the year at the Schwab. He played good at the where was it? The Valero? I have to pull this up now. I'm not like in love with anyone here, but Mac Meisner is a fun one. Like he's a guy
Yes,
kind of
also
semi-followed a little there.
also a co-sanctioned event. So you similar. You have DP World Tour guys in the field as well, just like we do at the Scottish. But yeah, I'm pot committed to the young masshole Michael Thorne Bjornsson. I don't want to do what I did with Akshay. I was just grinding Akshay 150s, 200s, betting him all the time. He goes to an alt field event. You were on him, but I stayed away.
I was. That's next week. Barracuda next week.
Yeah, and I missed the Akshay debut win. I'm not going to miss the Thor Bjornsson win. I'm going to continue to go to the well there. Was on him last week. It was in the mix a little bit. Made it a little bit interesting on Sunday. But yeah, Thor Bjornsson is, I think, one of the best. In all these things. All these young guys, Clanton and Horsey Sauce, my boy Neil Shipley in the field here as well. Thor Bjornsson is the king of these young next wave of golfers. So I want to be there when it happens, and I think it'll happen a bunch of times for him. So 1650 on Chris. There were some 18s early on Monday to jump on the kids. So yeah, Thor Bjornsson would be kind of a single shot for me. I don't intend on taking in a whole bunch of Keen Trace this weekend.
No. Although with the timing difference, like
it's true. I will watch it. I'll be honest.
This is like your, this is your warm-up set. You put the 25s on the bar and just make sure your muscles are warmed up. This is get up early and watch golf because, the Open Championship obviously is at quite a bit different timing. Although it's not been as early, obviously, with a lot of it, but I've been warming up with a little Wimbledon as well. So get used to some early. You're not going to wake up and be pissed like, it's it's the Amex. Golf doesn't start till like 10 o'clock here. This sucks.
Yeah,
so
tough.
You will have no matter how early you like to get up, you will have some golf on for sure. Yeah, I don't have a lot of bets. I'm going to bet Meisner. I'm going to find a better price, I think. So my whole card so far is what? Dietrich and Clark over in Scotland and Mac Meisner so far. So it'll get a little bigger than that, but for the most part, I haven't found my guy yet in Kentucky. I think.
Yeah, I got to do the top young gun double with the Thor Bjornsson, Oberg double. I don't know if I want to throw a live guy in there, see if I can really dance with the devil a little bit, but it's a good week. We don't get to parlay 3 golf tournament winners very often, so when you get a chance, you got to take advantage.
Yeah, those never turn. It's fun to see the number though. Like, holy shit,
it's fun to see the number. Oh, they never turn out well.
No, it is never going to turn out that well. So I don't know. Do you have anything else on Keen Trace?
No, birdies. Use the rabbit hole. Look at easy scoring conditions. Yeah, it's pretty balanced in terms of like proximity approach ranges, like driver heavy, no real missed fairway penalty. It's getting into the 20s, especially like you said, if we got lift clean in place, soft golf course. It's yeah, these guys are good at golf. I know it's the shit field relative. It's the alt field event, but like you want to find out how much better these guys are than you. Watch these guys just drop, 62s at this course this weekend. It's going to happen a lot. I lose you?
No, I'm fine. I just opened like 9 tabs at once.
Okay.
Am I still? Are we good?
No, you're good. I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, I just had too much. I started like looking. I started looking at the Barracuda field, and that website is a slow loader apparently. I'm excited. Like I said, I hit the winner last time.
Trying to get back.
Finally
Yeah.
got my
Get back
action
at it.
money. My action. It is nice to get the money back. Like when you've bet on a guy like that and you do catch it. It wasn't a huge number, but it was still decent enough. And fuck, modified Stableford is a different kind of sweat because the scores
It is.
they bounce differently. It's not just like, oh, you can, it's a par 5, maybe you eagle it, but for the most part, catching up is different. Like it's easier to make up for a bad hole. Like you have a double, it takes so long to make that up. It might take a pretty good 6-hole stretch to make that up with where it's like modified Stableford. You just have a really go for it par 5 and you get a bunch of points. So Andalusia, I don't have as much to say on this. Obviously, it's still harder to do the research on that sort of thing. There's less information about this. Basically, like, hey, here's an article, and guess what? Sergio's from Spain. Guess what? The '97 Ryder Cup was here. Like, there's just so little information about about this course, about what's going on here. It has some kind of fun par 5s. There's 2 of them. It has it's a good one for the fans, honestly. Gooch won here, but I think Gooch was playing really well last year. It's kind of the thing. It is not too dissimilar from Kentucky. I don't want to say like Spain and Kentucky have the same climate, but it is the bent grass greens. It is the Bermuda fairways. There's some nasty par 3s. And I'm going to dig in a little more and have an article on the site sometime tomorrow, because really it has been a struggle. Like I've been watching videos. If you remember, like digging into Nashville, I had to watch some of these YouTube guys play the course to actually just like even figure out there wasn't an information source anywhere who even told you how many bunkers are on the course. Like I use Google Earth and video just to like get a kind of a halfway count of seeing like, hey, is this heavy bunkering or not? Like nobody will even tell me. So Valderrama's one of the probably better courses that we're going to see. It's not going to be one of these, like we said, the Nashville one was kind of a muni feel. It was a KFT event in the past. The Houston one was okay. That was a course we've used, but has been moved on from. This is going to be one of the better courses. They call it the Augusta of Europe for its immaculate maintenance. This is what I'm saying. This is what the previews are going to say. So I haven't dug in too much on the prices, but it does feel like a tougher, better course like this will be more, maybe more conducive to some of the top names here, especially, if you are looking at some of the bigger guns who are in the Open Championship, this is maybe something they take a little more seriously than like, Houston, or what was the one after? It was Nashville after. They went on either side of the PGA. I feel like it went Houston, PGA, Nashville. Like when you are prepping for a major, some of these bigger guns will take things a little more seriously, because man, some of these scoreboards that live are just all over the place, even with some top names. So I'll be looking at some of the good names here. It might just be a Brooksy week.
That's what we saw here last year. We saw 13 guys under par. So he's playing a little bit tougher. Gooch was one shot win over Bryson, but Bryson shot a 63 in round 2. So like there are scores to be had out here. Par 71, but Brooks is right there. Patty Reed was still playing, still had eligibility, so he was getting fine tuned. He was, T5 in the nice little showing in the final round. Even DJ found the red numbers, which is not something that's been happening a lot. Neiman, Sergio, Cam Smith. So, like, really, to your point, kind of the upper echelon live fields played pretty well here. And you would expect that, right? A little harder course. That's for the better golfers to be able to separate on, makes more sense. So, yeah, I haven't shopped numbers at all. You said we're a little bit out, but let's see what we got. I'm assuming we got Bryson at the top. Yeah, Bryson's 650 depending on the book. Rom there, same kind of tier. A little bit further down, you can find a 750 on DraftKings. Ty Hatton at like 11 on DK as well, which is kind of the best number for him. Neiman, Sergio in that next tier. You get down to Louis a little bit. Louis like a 30 out there on Louis at Caesars. Caesars never has the best golf number. They are happy to take your Louis money this week if you want. But hard to argue with Richard Bland, right? I mean, Dick Bland is running hot.
I mean, he's running hot, but only in majors.
Yeah,
so not non-major. I don't know if I can back him here. Does it count as a PGA win if Tommy the Fleet wins? It's co-sanctioned. I'll give it to him for sure. I don't care if it's in Europe. That counts for sure. So he's not going to win. Yeah, the way DeChambeau played, I don't even care if the number's a little short. Maybe I'll just look at him here. I don't think I can back. I like Hatton won last time out. Good, but still an easier track. Kind of a weird spot in the calendar. I'm not excited to continue to back Hatton, and he's a guy I've bet in the past. So,
I mean, when he was stateside, Hatton was a guy that we would do on harder courses. So I don't hate it. I mean, but I don't love the price. But I typically never love the prices here because we have such a short field and so few actual viable winners. So, what's Mito's number? Mito's one of the guys I missed. I thought Mito was going to be a fun PGA Tour regular. 100 on Mito. I might get a couple shekels from you.
I mean, like Ortiz won an event. Like if he can win an event, we can definitely bet on Mito Pereira to win an event. 100's a lot.
100's a lot.
So Bryson and Mito. I like that. That's a pretty decent card.
Yeah, Mito, let's see. He 8th in Australia. Hasn't been great since, but yeah, it's okay.
I don't think you can really take form and like use it when you're doing live, when there's these huge gaps.
No, I know.
That's the other thing too. Some of these guys will go play other events. Like Patty Reed was in a random, like he'll play random.
He's played a bunch of Asian events. Yeah.
Yeah. They'll play Asian events. A lot of them will play, if they're allowed, they'll play the DP events that they can. God, who was it? Neiman that played like the Australian Open. It's weird to sound like that's not like some premier event when it is. It's so much is in tennis. Because I just got tennis on the brain this week with Wimbledon, but yeah, I think that's all I have. I don't have a good take on the PGA Americas Tour or anything Corn Ferry, LPGA or something. We'll just stick with the main 3 events this week. I don't know. Final thoughts on anywhere Scotland, Kentucky, or Spain, España. That's another one too. Like if you're up early and you got another TV, and I know Caffeine TV has been shuttered, so you'll have to find another way to watch. But this one is on like 6 a.m. Like shotgun start noon is usually what they do, but Spain's 5-6 hours ahead. So it'll be like 6 or 7 a.m. that the live stuff starts. So if you're already like screwing around, not working on Friday, watching the Scottish Open early, you might as well have a second golf TV on, guys.
Big spot for the Kentucky spot. You get that prime real estate on Sunday afternoon. It lives in the books. PGA Tour's main event is in the books. You just get to watch, Ben Silverman and Trey Mullinax down the stretch and see what kind of magic happens. It's going to be electric for those guys.
Didn't Trey Mullinax win here?
He did a couple years ago. Yeah.
I was going to say, I feel like he's been in the winner's circle. Yeah. Take that with a grain of salt, guys, when you're betting. Don't get too deep into some of these. Like, take some shots. It's funny I say take some shots after we had like a 25 to 1 winner last week at the birdie. Sometimes that's who wins Birdie Fest. Sometimes just a good golfer makes a bunch of birdies. Good golfer relative to the field, guys. So don't get too wild. I don't know if I can bet Clanton at that number, even though it continues to shorten, and he is very good. You took Bjorn Jorgensen. I mix him up with the other guy.
Bjorn Olsen? He's like 40 years old and hits the ball.
I know I don't mix them up. I mixed up the names when I'm saying
it's tough.
Sometimes.
It's tough.
It is tough with the soft J. So, all right. Literally, yeah, predict some winners. Hit the comments. Hit the thumbs up. Like I said, if you can multiple entries, try to predict the winner of any of the tournaments in the comments on the YouTube, and we'll like I said, I'll throw you a prize. I'll throw you some free subscription time. Give you a free week, month, whatever I'm feeling. Depends how good the winner is. I think that's how I have to judge it. Like if you really have a long shot and you call it in the comments, fuck, that's maybe that's even worth a quarter. I don't know.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm willing to dole it out. So pick some winners in the comments, hit the thumbs up on the YouTube if you listened in the podcast form. Appreciate you too. We'll be back next week for a big one. The Open Championship. Troon. Final major of the week. Final major of the year, guys. For me, for Noonan, for Betsperts Golf. We'll check you guys later.